There's like a caterpillar climbing.
Perfect. Is it yellow or black?
I'll show you, it's black.
Oh, cute. There's one in the pit too that I feel like I need to save before we set this aflame. Hi, I'm Slagle. I develop recipes for New York Times Cooking, and today we are cooking over a campfire. We are at Cedar Point Campground, and we are about 3 hours east of New York City. So even if you're a city person, it's easy to cook over a campfire, especially with recipes like the ones we're going to make today. They require minimal prep, one skillet, they can be made over any fire, and all of that will make your time in nature more enjoyable. There are a couple main ways to make a fire. The first one you might learn is a teepee. The logs all come to a center like this, but this is kind of wobbly and precarious. The other way is a log cabin, in which you put logs back and forth like this, all the way up. This way can work, but it can be hard to get airflow around the wood in this scenario, and you might kind of like snuff out your fire. The way I learned how to make a fire is the way my boyfriend makes a fire, and even I can do it. You start with tinder, which is the thing that you want to kind of like spark the flame. That can be some leaves that you got from the great outdoors. That can be some pine from the great outdoors. Newspaper is also really great. These are just supermarket fire starters. They're just like a little help, you know, just make it easy on yourself. Then you have kindling, which is kind of like your bridge between this really hot tinder and these larger logs. So that's any sort of thin, dry wood. It's important that it's dry so that it doesn't sputter and make steam. To see if your wood is dry, just snap it. And if it snaps, it's dry. And what I'm trying to light is the newspaper, because that's kind of like our starting point. I'm putting the logs kind of in a teepee shape on this side. But as you see, like nothing's happening on this side of the bin. I'm really concentrating on this side to just consolidate the fire and make it small so that it gets really hot so that we get coals faster. Great, we made a fire. Our work is kind of not done because you don't actually want to cook on fire. If we put a grate and a skillet on top of this, the flames would just kind of like wash over the food and char it, and it would taste yucky. So we really are building a big fire and waiting for all of the wood to break down into coals. Ideally, you make a fire, you get a drink, you play some games. This is also the perfect time to prep your dinner. And then once you see kind of this puddle of coals, then it's time to make dinner. But if you're on a schedule, the fire will probably not abide by your schedule. My partner and I outfitted a van that we could live and cook out of and travel around the country. We circled the United States twice. Through camping in many different states and many different scenarios, we've kind of figured out the way to make dinner really easy. And so that's kind of what I'm gonna show you today. None of the things besides a dishwashing bucket are really like camp exclusive items. They are all things you probably already have in your kitchen. These things include very lightweight mixing bowls, a knife or two, a spoon or two, some utensils, some tongs for moving food around, but also moving wood around. I like to use a carbon steel skillet because it behaves like a cast iron skillet, but it's much thinner and it's not as heavy. So it makes packing really easy. You want some oven mitts so that you can move hot things around, including your skillet. Some foil. I can't explain why I always end up using foil when I'm camping, but for some reason it just like becomes a useful thing all the time. It's good for leftovers, it's good for keeping things warm, and somehow like I always find a use for it. A cutting board is always good. Trash bags, important. You will make trash that you can't just put in the fire. Also, if you're camp cooking, you will also be camp dishwashing. So you need a sponge. You might want a vessel to wash the dishes in, and then you'll need some dish soap, preferably something that can go in the land that's not super chemically. My most important tool is a sheet pan. I think it is so useful when you're camping, and it might not be something you think that you'll need, but then you start using it all the time. It just has innumerable uses when you're camping. I do think paper towels are very useful. Like, you're just gonna make a mess, it's just gonna happen, and you're just gonna have to wipe it up, and a paper towel can just become tinder for your fire. I think that's it. So for breakfast, we're making a kimchi egg and cheese sandwich, and we're gonna add some bacon because why not? Also because honestly, bacon is so good on the campfire because it's double smoke. Bacon is already smoked, and then you're getting a little smokiness from the fire. It's really like a top-notch camping food. We're gonna prep our ingredients now for breakfast. We need buns, eggs, cheese. The recipe online calls for cheddar cheese, but I also think American cheese makes a lot of sense. It's easier to melt, so if you're worried about your fire being hot enough or not, you know that American cheese will melt no matter what. We need kimchi, bacon, soy sauce. The thought of like chopping kimchi on a cutting board and then washing the cutting board at a campsite feels beyond my interest level. So you can just cut the kimchi with some scissors in the jar and avoid a huge cleanup. Kind of any pickle would be really good on a sandwich. So kimchi is a great option. I really love putting sauerkraut on my breakfast sandwiches. Kimchi prep done. Eggs. Typically when you're making a breakfast sandwich, you would season the eggs with salt, which you could totally do in this case. But I think soy sauce adds another layer of flavor and works really well with the kimchi. My feeling about measuring when you're camping is it's just too many things to wash. When you cook over a campfire, it's just gonna taste good. So don't worry about being too precious with your measurements. Okay, we're like 10 minutes from breakfast. So this is about what you're looking for when you know you're ready to cook. There's a lot of logs covered in white ash. You still see some glowing red embers in here. Another important thing for your whole camp setup is to have a bucket of water by your campfire in case you need to put out the fire or things go awry. You just want to be prepared. This is going to take a little while to get warm, but I don't see any point in waiting to put your bacon on. Your bacon can just gradually cook. That will actually help the bacon fat render more fully for crispier bacon. It can be wise to have an area where you can push your skillet that doesn't have coals. Like if this started burning and I wanted to cool it down really quickly, I could push it over here. We have some crisp curls here. I'm just gonna transfer it to a paper towel lined sheet pan. I'm gonna get rid of some of this bacon fat because that will be a very greasy sandwich if we use all of that fat. This pan is really hot. You can see it's kind of smoking, so I'm just gonna kick it off to this cooler side so that I don't burn our buns. Like, as you can see, the fire is not perfect. It's not like a consistent golden everywhere. That is just the fun of it. It's gonna taste really good because it's gonna be a little smoky. So that the egg doesn't stick, I'm gonna add a little bit more bacon fat. All right, so kimchi's going in. We're just caramelizing the kimchi a little bit. It'll just be a little more toasty. The egg in this sandwich is kind of like a thin omelet. So you wanna let the bottom set a little bit and then push the egg in so that the runny bits can hit the heat of the skillet. Then once it's mostly all set, you will add the cheese on top to melt. Pepper jack is also really good if you want like a double hit of heat. So at this point, I'm going to flip this egg over as well as I can. Let's see how I do here. And then I'm just gonna cut this in half because we're gonna make 2 sandwiches here. This to me is like the definition of a camp sandwich. Like, it's kind of messy, it's a little all over the place, and it's gonna taste really, really good. I've never made this sandwich with bacon before, and the bacon really adds something because it's like crispy, and then you have the gooey cheese, and everything is just like a little peppery and a little tingling from the kimchi.
Wait, you have a little bit of kimchi.
What's the problem?
It's under
Still there. It's like right closer.
a little higher.
To your,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, there you go.
Wow, it traveled. So once you eat this for breakfast, you are invincible and you can do anything with your day. We're gonna go to the beach and then we'll be back, make another fire, make dinner. Dinner sometimes on the campfire takes a little bit longer than you want, so I like to have a pre-snack before the real dinner. Shishito peppers are kind of like a no-brainer thing to sear off in a skillet. You can eat them raw, so if you don't cook them all the way through, or if you overcook them, they're just like really charred and they're still good. In this case, you do want to wait until your oil is ripply because you want to get kind of like that sear on your shishito peppers right away. Okay, I see some sputtering. Let's try it. You know, also, if you had bacon fat from this morning, you could cook these in bacon fat. Bacon is like the gift that keeps on giving here. I'm not crying because these are spicy or something happened. I'm just crying because there's smoke going into my eyes. And that is really just part of it that you just live with. These peppers, you could eat them just like this, but I like a little something on them, a little flaky salt. You could do red pepper flakes. You know that shishito peppers are done when they're kind of puffed up, when they look kind of swollen, and then they'll kind of deflate as they cool. I made these shishito peppers for my imaginary friends that I'm camping with, so I'm just gonna eat them by myself. I love that they're like juicy and sweet inside, but then they have this kind of savory char on the outside. I think you just like can't mess them up. It's kind of the perfect camp food. So now we are prepping for dinner, which will be a skillet gnocchi with burst tomatoes and mozzarella. We obviously need some gnocchi. These are refrigerated gnocchi. You can use refrigerated or store-bought gnocchi. What are so wonderful about these is you don't have to boil them. Some basil, 2 pints of cherry tomatoes or any sort of small tomato. This is some fresh mozzarella that we can just pull with our hands. Makes it nice and easy. Butter, olive oil, garlic, red pepper flakes, and salt. If you're camping and you want to make this recipe and you don't want to thinly slice the garlic, I would suggest smashing it and putting those smashed and peeled cloves right in the butter. You'll still get the flavor of the garlic. You just might not want to eat the whole cloves. There's really no need to even get a cutting board out. That's all the prep. Now we get to cook. I am not even going to clean the skillet from when we made the shishito peppers. This recipe calls for 2 packages of gnocchi, and I like to sear them one at a time so that they have enough space to all touch the bottom of the skillet. This recipe coats the gnocchi in like a brown butter tomato sauce with mozzarella, but if that doesn't sound good to you, you can use this gnocchi with kind of any pasta recipe you like. The one thing to be mindful of this recipe is like butter does burn. So if you feel like your skillet is really hot, maybe move it off the heat a little bit. This is our butter and garlic. I'm gonna add some chili flakes and they'll kind of like bloom and cook in the butter. Once you don't hear really active bubbles, you wanna add the tomatoes. That means that the butter is on its way to browning. All the water has stopped sizzling out and the fat is starting to brown. Add some salt. And then we're gonna add just a couple tablespoons of water, and that will turn all of this into a nice glossy sauce. While we're waiting for these tomatoes, I'm just gonna pick basil, put it in this gnocchi bowl because they're all gonna go in together. So when they start getting wrinkly and open like that, you can just kind of help them along and smash them down. So this is the point where we add the gnocchi back as well as some basil. If you don't wanna do basil, don't do it. I do think it's like a little ridiculous to bring basil to a campsite, but if you're inspired, go for it. Once you feel like the gnocchi are kind of coated in sauce, you'll spread them out like this into an evenish layer so that you can put cheese on top. And if you think it looks like pizza, you are correct. 1/2-inch-ish pieces of mozzarella go on top. It really doesn't have to be precise. A little more drizzle of oil. In the recipe, it says to broil the top so that the cheese melts. We don't have a broiler here, so we're gonna use the sheet pan, turn it upside down, and this will contain the heat and melt the cheese. Okay, that looks good to me. My nose is so stuffed up from this fire, but I can smell pizza in this bowl, and it is really amazing. Even with like out of season cherry tomatoes, they burst with sweet and tart flavors. Then you have this kind of like chewy gnocchi. It's all so warm, it's great. Okay, we're gonna build up the fire a little bit, and then it is the most important part of any campfire. It is s'mores time. Okay, it's dessert time. I had a friend come help. This is Moss. And he showed up for s'mores, but not just any s'mores. We're making s'mores crispy treats, which means we have to toast this whole bag of marshmallows, which I simply cannot do alone. So the first step to this recipe is to melt a stick of butter in a skillet. Moss, do you like making s'mores?
I love making s'mores. I've been doing it since
my childhood.
I'm gonna push this off just so it doesn't burn.
Yeah.
What's your technique?
You don't want to get too close to the flame because you don't want them to catch on fire and blacken. Rotate constantly if you want an even golden brown.
It's already going.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, should we put some marshmallows in here?
There's something very visually appealing about roasting 5 marshmallows at once.
You definitely don't need to toast all of them. You can just do as much as you have the patience for. Okay, so as you can see, we have a heap of marshmallows. They're nice and toasty. There's some brown butter underneath there. And then we add cereal. Have you ever seen anything like it, Moss?
I have to say, I have not.
I also like the idea of a group s'more. Like, s'mores are such an individual dessert.
Yeah.
Hard to share them.
Yeah.
So because the cereal is like sweeter than graham crackers, so we just add a little salt. Do you want to do some chips? So ideally this is like kind of added down so that you can slice it.
Sprinkle some chips over.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wow.
And then those are gonna melt. This now will go off the heat and it will firm a little bit so that we could slice it and eat it. Okay, so we played some cards, waiting for our s'mores crispy treats to firm. The spirit of the camp is that things just look like this.
Wow. Wow. I'm gonna have to take a bite of it.
Less messy things you can make at a campfire, but nothing
No.
that tastes like this.
S'mores are supposed to be messy. Part of the s'more experience is it being sticky and getting on your face.
Cheers.
Cheers. Whoa.
I think it's just crazy.
I think texturally it's excellent.
There's just like so much goo and like deep essence of campfire. And then the cereal stays crispy. So I hope you can see by these recipes that you really don't need much to cook really wonderful, fun, kind of messy recipes over a campfire. Thank you so much for watching. Bye,
Should
Moss.
we do a high five shot?